Call to order the March 17th, 2026 Select Board meeting, Town of Denmark. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we will open this joint session of the Town of Denmark Budget Committee with the Select Board. You all have a budget packet from 317 sitting in front of us with some changes from the last meeting. I was unable to attend the last meeting, so I got nothing to say about that, but there's no minutes or anything like that, so we won't worry about it. We'll just, I guess we'll just get right into, there's no agenda in this packet per se?
It was just reviewing.
Yeah.
We do have minutes.
Go ahead, Betty. Just reviewing?
Yeah, so it was just reviewing, like, changes from the last meeting. So in this packet, there is, all of these figures are with a 3% wage increase per the last meeting. Our adjustments were made on E911, ACO, and the town board secretary, which helped with those line items. And then line item changes that were made from Andy's suggestions were decreased admin, other miscellaneous decreased 500, public works overtime decreased 5,000, public works brush supplies decreased 500, public works mileage 250, public works miscellaneous highway 2,000, Public Works General Supply, 150, Public Works Park and Rec, 1,000, Public Works Beautification by 1,000. Andy did have on his list a note about the 4,000 for the fire department. Clothing, I did not do anything with that yet, just because we really didn't have a discussion on it, and 4,000 is their total budget on that. So in your packet is a four-year expense budget comparison. The date should be 3/17. The year-to-date expended has not been updated. I did not have time today to update all of those, but any new budget changes have been made to the 2027 request. I also updated the agencies to what was agreed upon at the last meeting, and the addition of the two new Bridgeton Community Center and the Bridgeton Food Pantry. That's on line page 8. And so those figures are all updated per last meeting. The mill, so, and then I provided wage increases 2.8, the 3, and the 3.5. And then mill rate scenarios, I went bare bones. I did just two options, which was the municipal budget as is, with no extras, no capital, no nothing. And then figured a $600,000 bond yearly payment. So I relooked at some rates today, just, you know, what I can find for history on the internet. And I am suggesting a bond rate, or using a bond rate of 4% here for 5 years. And you can see the annual payment on that would be $135,000. So that was figured in. That's the $600,000 bond yearly payment. I increased the appropriations by that. And then ran those mill rate scenarios. And I think that kind of wraps up or summarizes what you have in front of you.
Any questions on what Betty just ran down?
You go over it again, I'm sorry I was late.
So I missed the last one, I apologize for that. Did we just cover outside agencies? Is that all we went over?
Yeah, let's drop all those, which
Which is how we got to the 250 and the 250 for the two ads.
Yes.
And then quickly went over wages with the request for the 3%. And I'm just getting out my notes, sorry, from last meeting.
Yeah, we were looking at $3,600, not even 35 something, to go from either 2.8 to 3.5, so not a lot. It looks like there were some increases from the outside agencies for what they asked for last year to what their requests are for this year that we're looking to, is that right, or do we hold everybody flat for the mix?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweetzer's up.
Susan Curtis wanted more, at least stuff with what we given.
Yeah, okay.
Find it where it was.
So, budget was 21, yeah, okay. So we're up that $500, $400.
Yeah, we went down, Tri-County went down to 12.
Just checking.
Cancer,
Safe houses are down from 550 to 5.
yeah, I don't remember what we did with cancer research.
Well, Helping Hearts didn't request.
I don't think you did.
No, they did not submit a request. So there was just one increase in the Sweetser from, unless I,
Yeah, no, and Save Voices looks like it went down, $50.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Just wondering how we get to.
Where do we straw poll on cancer resource? I have both 250 and 500.
We said we were gonna leave it at 250 and then we would revisit it.
Okay.
Okay.
Put in for both the food pantry and under new agency requests.
Oops, and I do apologize.
Bridgeton
It
Community
looks like
Center.
Sweetser should be 250. I have 500 in there.
Yeah, and 250 for both community center, fourth year requests, and food pantry. 250.
Yeah, that's what that's what she's got
That's
down
on
there.
the-
Yep, yep.
All right.
You said Sweetser should be 250?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's gonna drop that? $21.
Which one, 350? Food pantry.
These, this Sweetser one here, 126. This
That'll take the total down to 21,499.
Okay, does that should be 250, not 500.
So we're up $150. Not bad.
Not from where we were last year.
Huh?
From where we were
Yeah,
last year.
yep. All right. So what are the big hurdles left to tackle?
So,
From where we are to where we need to get to be, I guess.
decision on wages.
All right, let's just take that one. What was the discussion last week? Sounds like there was a little bit of a discussion about it. What Betty was saying?
Yeah, that looks like healthy for you.
Discussion last week was, well, I can't speak, I guess, for the budget committee.
My point was definitely, certainly deserving of an
Probably should
increase.
have that in
I
here.
think, just based on the bigger picture, I know it's not a huge difference between the three numbers we have here, but I'm still at the 2.8%. I just think that overall, that's just what the tax base can afford. I think, certainly, like I said, certainly deserving of maybe some more, but I think just in the bigger picture, I'd hold it at COLA. That was my argument.
Great. Anybody else?
We had, what was the difference between 2.8 and 3? What did it come down to? It
It's like
It's
2.8.
like-
and-
A little over $1,000, I think.
was about $1,000.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's $1,400.
Yeah. 2.8 to 3.5, you said was what,
Was
3,700?
3,600 bucks. So I definitely hear what you're saying, Nate. I'm always in favor of making sure that people who should be, feel like they're appreciated, make sure that they're felt like they're appreciated. And, I mean, I guess what's the overall increase from what it is now to 3.5, Betty?
What do you mean by,
Well, so from this year's appropriated, right?
oh,
Because you figured it with a 2%, so it's 39 plus how much more? 3,500 plus how much more to get to this year's number? If
Well,
that
it'd be
makes
the
sense.
2.8 plus the addition to the 3.5.
Yeah,
2.0 is from the original.
Right, so I'm just
last year.
wondering what that number looks like without the 2.8 on it. Right, because this is figured last year's plus 2 plus to get back to 2.8.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand. I got you.
Yeah,
got
right,
you.
I'm just trying to
That's
figure out
not
what the-
showing from this past
From,
year.
right,
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
That's
Sorry.
sort of what I'm asking.
so I'm sorry.
So if this year, right, what the number
benefits.
what the total benefits would be this year as the wages stand,
Okay,
right? And then,
Without a cost of living at all, you mean?
well, yeah, I'm just, what this year's was,
Yep.
we're paying something for this year,
Yeah.
right? And then what's that increase to get to 3.5?
I just gotta pull up a spreadsheet.
So I guess what I don't know is what does the 2.8 represent? What does that increase represent? I know it represents, but what is that number? Dollar value.
Right, which would at each percentage, what would that increase be?
Right, yeah, I'm just curious if it's like $5,000 to get them from where you are now to 2.8, and that's another, so it'd be,
Right.
it'd be almost $9,000 to get there?
Yeah, that's
Or is
what-
it,
That's what I would want to know too.
yeah. Or it's only $2,500, it's, around 5 to get to 3.5. And the reason I guess I'm curious about that is if you look at the front sheet with all these decreases that Betty managed to go through and the guys managed to go through and get, right? If you replace any of that stuff with an increase to people, make the town go around, then we'll have a huge problem with that. I think you could. I think you could just take 97.3% of the $66,000 number and find out what it is, right? Just my calculator. Wherewithal, I guess.
It's odd, I'm on the budget committee, and I'm not really mathematically clever.
So you could do a set number 60. 66.
CFO does the work, so she's gonna make the legislative.
1.9 times 0.978. 2.8?
So in '26, it was 637,376. So 637,
637,
376.
376. But that's not just wages.
That is just the wages. I
It is,
do.
okay.
Yeah, so that's not the benefits.
Okay.
I have like our
Okay,
approved
yeah.
wage.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I got you, okay. So,
It'll have
so
some
that's,
effect,
I guess that's what we got to look at, right? So, I mean, so to go from, well, that seems like,
but they're showing total benefits on that figure.
yeah, but you have them here too, right? You have the yearly,
Yeah, the yearly numbers right there.
654.
and the yearly, so 654, so it's
It's like
really a
20 grand.
56, yeah, I mean, it's still 2 something, and 59 gets you to, usually more like,
So what did you give out,
$4,000.
Betty? Don't you have that on page 15? Is that what you're asking, total salaries for 2026?
For 2026?
Yeah, what's on page 15 at the bottom?
On which page? 15?
15, in today's packet. It shows what the difference is for the three things, and you have total salaries.
I think he's looking down here at the bottom.
Yeah, so those are,
When you just minus total benefits are there, so it gives you a total.
so a 2.8, so these proposed,
That'd be in the new budget.
Yeah.
You're looking for last
right,
year's total.
right.
Well, you just take
What was our wage?
Don't we have that? Yeah, don't we?
97.2% of
17,000.
Yeah, but you should be able to backtrack somehow with those numbers.
0.97.
Or just look at the 20, you have to add up the 25 numbers in the sheets as well. But I think you might be able to backtrack with what Sean's doing. Well, you won't know, because benefits aren't, that's a wacky thing that could go
What did
with
we do
this.
for a raise last year?
Salaries are different.
Last year was a 3.5.
3.5.
Yes, it doesn't quite come out like that either, to get to 2.8.
So I'm just gonna put, plug in there.
Yeah.
I started with the 3.5. One reason was because that was what was, approved last year. After running numbers and doing all of these mill rate scenarios, I took mill rate scenario from last meeting, so not the 3%, with the 3.5%, and figured out, okay, if we didn't give a 3.5% and only gave the 2.8, what is the difference in my tax bill? I took my tax bill. It is less than $5. It's like $4.50 some odd cents. So to me, I don't think that is a huge tax burden to each individual, tax bill that we send out. My tax bill is in the mid-range. There's obviously less, waterfront is obviously more. But if I was asked at town meeting, would you pay an extra $5 to give our employees a 3.5% raise versus a 2.8? I definitely would. So that's coming from my taxpayer hat. From my town manager hat, I would just like to say that I fully understand what everyone is saying, but I think with us, every year we always say that it's a hard year. We, nitpick every line item. One of the reasons I think we did a 3.5 last year was because we did go through every line item and we were able to reduce the budget, and then felt that we could give a 3.5%. So I think our employees deserve it. I think with all of the talk that's been circulating in these budget meetings, in the public itself, I think morale's going to be down if we are showing that we're not appreciating our employees, and knowing that it is, a small, minimal increase in an average tax bill, I'm saying, which again, like I said, I used my own. So I really would like the committee and the board to settle on a 3.5. I think it's deserved. And I think if we had public here and had input, we would be surprised at what they would say, that they would support the employees. So that is my plug as town manager and as a taxpayer.
Can I ask, and I may have misunderstood or misheard, based on the talk here at the budget committee and the talk in the public, I guess I'm missing out on the public talk. What is the public talk about the budget committee meetings?
Well, just, with some talk about reducing, Public Works employees, going down to, 6 months versus,
the discussion about contracting it out.
Discussion about
Gotcha.
contracting, discussion about, perhaps not having a salt shed this year.
Gotcha.
And what does that do for, Public Works employees and such.
Gotcha, thanks.
Yeah, well, and I can certainly appreciate all that.
Yep.
potential uneasiness, we do have to discuss all these options, right? I mean,
Right,
I think
and-
people need to understand that if you're looking at a massive expense that you were not planning for, you
Correct.
have to try to look at options and ways to reduce. And maybe the things we haven't looked at for a long time, maybe the things we never looked at, maybe the things that we just talk about, and then we say, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I think that, I think people who are involved in the process, top to bottom, right, what, not just this group of 5 or 6 folks here, but everybody in the town should understand that, those conversations have to happen. We're not doing our job the right, we're not doing what we've been asked to do without having those sorts of conversations. They may go nowhere, right, but we still have to have
Correct.
them because everyone needs to hear all the possible ways that you could think about trying to save some money for everybody in this town. 'Cause
And I appreciate those conversations. I
Right.
think that's what this whole process is about.
Absolutely,
Is,
right?
looking and fine tuning and getting everything that we can out of our budget, and having those conversations, I think is great. It's something that it does need to be discussed. Again, it's just, some feedback that you get. I think there's been some people that has stopped into Public Works, and I can't speak of who, but
Yeah, no, and I get it too, right? People get nervous when you start talking about things like that, and I totally get it. I think personally that you went and found $10,400 to knock off the total budget with these things on this one page, and we've had conversations and knocked out things well beyond this already in these meetings, right? I would have no problem supporting 3.5% personally, right? You're still talking about saving $6,245.25 off of the overall budget with the reductions made on page 1. And I agree with Betty, for my money, the thing you have to make sure you invest in small towns like ours are the people. And so,
The
I'm
difference,
modest.
as I read it, the difference between 2.8 COLA and 3.5 is $7,721.
The way I'm reading it is $4,154.
I'm talking yearly, both the
Probably with
wages
benefits too,
and wages and taxes.
Wages and benefits, you mean?
Wages and benefits.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, total, 7,000, so total,
Yep,
7,721.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
So, yeah.
Again, that's still, so it's so if you put all that stuff in there, because the wages are funny, but yeah.
Less than we spend on fireworks.
Sure, and still a net savings to the town
And didn't give to the
off of page 1.
Salvation Army.
But again, we can take a vote on it when we take a vote on it now if we want, and just see a straw poll if that's what we want to do. And again,
What I'm looking at, Luke, is if you go to the last page, 17,
Yep,
our mill rate right now, if I'm reading this right, is current $8.
that's correct.
So if we do with the building, we're gonna go up $8.69. If we don't, we could go up, no unassigned, $9. So it's gonna be $1 a mill rate
That's correct.
for people.
Yep,
20%.
That's gonna be a lot of stress for some people.
I don't disagree.
So I mean, I know we've done our job, but I mean, and I don't say that the town employees don't deserve
no, I'm not
3.5%
insinuating that at all.
increase.
Yep.
But it's gonna be a hard burden for a lot of people.
12.5% increase in the mill rate is
Exactly.
Yeah.
significant.
Absolutely.
tough.
I couldn't agree more. Yep.
and I would like to also point out, and this is, why we come here and we do this. So on page 1, if you actually look, our municipal budget is actually 9% less.
Right,
So-
but that still doesn't cover the mill rate though. I'm looking at the final numbers, what I'm looking at.
I understand,
That's my tax bill.
But if you don't, even if you don't do the salt shed, Russ, because that's the one you're looking at, right? You're still at 10% increase.
If we're looking at the, I don't know what it's gonna be with the building.
Well, that's a $600,000 bond.
Right.
That's
So it's gonna add to it, correct?
That's how you get to that's how you get to that right-hand column.
Okay, well, with the 600, so we're still gonna, even if we don't, we're still gonna go up 79
That's
cents.
what I'm telling you. You're going up
And we
10%.
don't know what the school budget's gonna be.
That's correct.
So I mean, we still could go up over $1 on our mill rate, which is gonna be
Yes.
tough for a lot of citizens in this town.
Yep.
So,
I
I mean,
don't
we
disagree.
may have to look at this harder, is what I'm saying.
And in
I mean,
the
there's gonna
end,
be something, if we gotta cut something, we gotta cut something. I mean, it's just coming down to, gas is going up, heat and oil's going up, everything, food's going up. It's gonna be and we say this every year, but what's going on in this world right now, it's gonna be really tough this year, I think.
so I also with these mill rate scenarios, I'm using our current assessment values. Those usually, go up a good, million, which is going to offset that.
Mill rate will come
Mill
back
rate.
down, yeah.
It's going
This
to bring
year?
it down.
For the new taxes in August?
They usually, with.
Does he, so
with
he
new
actually
bills-
goes in and starts relooking at all the calculations for every house and updates
Not
it?
every house, but if we had a house that was started in last year.
Okay, you're talking about new
and that
builds
new,
and things.
yeah,
Okay, okay, that's what I was
like-
asking, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to understand. Okay,
Yeah.
that's true, okay, gotcha. So there'll be some newer ones. If I can, I just want to also mention too, just on kind of both sides. Again, reiterating that the town does pay a 0.5% towards that state family leave, which they don't have to pay for employees. And we look at that every year, and I think, it's fine that the town does that at this point too, so that is a benefit also every year, in essence, a 0.5% raise to the employees for whatever the final number is. Okay, and then in future years, that might go up, it might be 1%. You know how this state is, the way they keep, once they start handing that money out, they're gonna run out of money fast.
So what scares me, it goes to the state, and you don't know if you're gonna get that or not. You have to apply for that.
Yeah, exactly, so I mean,
That's what scares
but
me.
anyway, it's only gonna go up, let's put it that way.
It goes up, and you could apply for it and not get it, so that's.
And then on the flip side to what Luke was saying, I know last year, I mean, those reductions we talked about last week were basically just keeping the budget the same as last year. We really didn't make, I mean, one or two might have been cuts to parks, I think we went from 2 to 1 or something, and there was some overtime, but all the rest of them were just not having any increases. So to like kind of what Luke was saying, if the town employees can still work at, kind of freezing their budgets and things like that, you have that option too, like we did last year. We ended up cutting a lot and finding some money to give them a little extra last year. So, it's a pros and cons on both sides. So it's a matter of deciding if we want to do that again and and there's still some more discussions on a few other cuts that, if we're pretty good that we can knock down some of these other areas, another 0.5% may not be that big a deal as far as we found some cuts for it. But again, I agree with what Rusty's saying too. Semantics of it, people don't want to hear it when they're, Social Security or, things go up 2%, 2.8% and stuff like that. And other people, their taxes are going up. When you combine salt shed, wages, all that stuff, they kind of get it different. So it's kind of, like you said, it might need a little more discussion on how you want to.
I think it's important to remember too, that, we are just the budget committee making a recommendation. The
Right.
selectmen will come in with their recommendation, the budget committee comes with their recommendation.
Correct.
And the town
The
hall.
beauty of this is the townspeople
If they
will
show up.
vote it up or down if they show up.
Right.
And the other argument is if they care enough, they would show up,
Right.
maybe they won't. And then if they don't show up and their taxes go up,
That's right.
that's partially on them. I don't think it's completely on them. I mean, we have that responsibility.
Sure.
But it also say if the selectmen come in with a budget that's higher than the budget committee recommends, that's the piece that goes to the voter that can be raised up to that
Yep.
point. And if there are concerns from town people stopping in, that's fine. That's great. I have no problem being
That's how it should be.
criticized.
That's how it should be.
But I have, as long as I've been doing this, I've never seen a contested race for the budget committee.
That's
No
correct.
one ever seems to. No one ever seems to volunteer. It's the same group every time. I'd gladly let
Okay,
somebody.
I'm trying to get off about
Yeah, me too. So I understand concerns, but I don't see a bunch of people lining up
No,
to do
you
this
don't.
either.
Or coming,
And it's a
or
recommendation.
Any
That's
town
all
coming
it
to
is.
sit these meetings and have any input if they want to have.
It's a
Right.
recommendation,
Right.
and
Yep.
they can choose to go with it or not.
Just as a note, maybe for the future, Betty, when you, not next year, not this year, when you show the 4-year expense budget comparisons,
Yep.
maybe you can have kind of like when you have at the bottom, maybe you could have that kind of after all these capital numbers, say like after line item 239 on page 1. Maybe you have, so then that's what the actual municipal budget is before you start adding capital numbers.
I gotcha.
For trucks
Yeah.
and building, because, like you said, we're down 9% from last year, but when you add up that 255,000 in capital money we put in there,
Mm-hmm.
we're pretty much even. And you know it's gonna go up just for wages and stuff anyway, it should go up whatever the percent.
And I'll
So, you know, I'm just saying that might give you a fairer
No,
number to
that's a
show
good
you
point.
what your actual municipal budget is before you start with the capital projects.
You know, I'll second what I think Luke and some other people said too. I mean, this process with the numbers we have now, we can be a lot more accurate. We don't have to guess. Betty's done a really good job of presenting us figures that we can work with, and yeah, our surplus or unassigned fund balance is down. I think that's a good thing
That's a good
in a
thing.
way,
I don't know
because
what
we're,
that's
and so that's putting us in a better situation of being able to tweak
Scrutinize.
these
Right.
numbers
Yeah.
and.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think too, when you say that too, Sean, that people might realize now that we're paying for what we're getting instead of paying more than what we're getting. If people would realize that,
Right.
because we've had a big surplus for, I don't know how many years I've been doing this.
Last year's
but we've been-
taxpayers are not now paying for this
We
year's
pay for a
issues.
grader, we pay for this, we
Right.
pay for that cash. So, I mean, we're working, I mean, we've done good over the last few years. I think we've cut what we've cut, and you can't, you know, if we want to go backwards, you know, I had, like Betty was talking about, people was talking to me about, oh, you're gonna shut the road crew down? I said, that's not gonna happen. I said, that's just something that we looked into, and I said it was one of those things we've been talking about for years. We looked into it, and why would you do that? You're not gonna get 6 months employees to work summer and they're not working the winter. So that's far-fetched, you know. It's just one of those things that come up, and hopefully everybody puts it to rest, and we
And
move
you're not gonna
on.
get the kind of service you get now either, right? You're not gonna get that same.
Right, exactly. And you don't see too many private contractors anymore. You know, there's not a lot of them around that would do,
Right, that's the thing, it's exactly right.
Right,
You
they
want-
have the
you're not getting
equipment.
people
One or two
knocking
men
at your
crew.
door to put a bid in there.
they have the
do that
equipment to
kind
do
of
it.
work Either.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Nope.
not just that, you've got some longevity on the crew, right? I mean, they know the roads, they know
Right.
where they're gonna have to plow, when they're gonna have to plow, how to plow.
I offer no apologies for just suggesting looking into it.
No, you shouldn't.
I know.
No,
I agree with you.
That's the point of this meeting, right? That's the point of what we're doing
No,
here.
I agree with you.
Because I'm telling you right now, the good work we've done is you're running out of the things you're going to find easily, right?
Exactly.
So you're running out of that stuff that's sort of easy picking. You can cherry pick
Right.
off the top and say, oh, well, you know, that low hanging fruit
If they
doesn't
start doing that,
exist
we're
anymore.
gonna go backwards. and then
Well,
we'll go
yeah, but
backwards and-
that low hanging fruit doesn't exist anymore. There's
Right.
no more of those things that we've been,
Right.
you know, turning a blind eye to over the years and just saying, yeah, it'll be all right. it'll be
Nothing
all right.
wrong with exploring all roads.
Exactly.
Amen to that. Yeah, so I'm going to say it again. I would support, again, an investment in the people who do the job day to day in this town. So for the nominal $7,000, I would support a increase to 3.5%. So I would just say that to kind of, so we all know where we all are, and we can move past this and we'll take a quick straw poll, because we're going to have to come up with something. We're going to have to vote on something as a body here for what we're looking to do.
Not for nothing, but the increase is almost exactly what we're paying for streetlights.
Well, that's with my ballpark.
Michael,
So I'm
Michael,
not getting my ballpark.
I got a shotgun, we can take that.
We've moved on
You
from
drive.
Salvation Army.
Yeah.
You drive, I'll shoot.
Nice job, Mr. Enos.
So I'm gonna take a quick vote. We're gonna vote on all three. Well, what we'll do is we'll see who would support a 2.8 only.
start at the top.
Who would support a 3 only and a 3.5 only? You want to start at 2.5? All right. Who would support a 3.5% increase to wages and salaries?
A
One, two.
tentative support.
Yeah, right. Sure. So that's 3. Did you vote?
I can,
Sean?
yeah, if I can find some other savings.
Yeah. Okay. And who would support a 3?
can.
Oh, of course. yeah.
Right. And who would only support a 2.8?
That's
okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got 4 for 3.5, and 1 at 2.8. And I appreciate you sticking to your guns, Nate.
That's all right.
You have one more? Said 4 to 1.
You're not counting one of us.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, not
Dad
counting
raised his hand.
somebody.
Oh, 5. Sorry, 5.
Where do you live? You're gonna get plowed
5
last.
and 3.5.
You're gonna get
hell?
plowed
Funny
last
money.
next year. Where do you live?
I get plowed the
My
most.
taxes gonna go up that much, I might as well pay for the help. Except it.
Does the board wanna,
All
My
right.
mailbox.
Do we want to vote too? That we
it just gives me direction on where I'm.
Well, again, I would be tentative because we still have some cuts to discuss, and I think the more we cut, the more I'm in favor of probably doing
That was
it.
funny.
Right, so I guess-
For these other
For me, unless it
that's
goes
all.
up again,
So maybe
my
if we-
vote's not
if they
going to
want
change.
to talk
right?
about these
Unless
other
this-
cuts, we
unless
might
we
be able
start
to.
swinging- unless we start
A
adding
lot
money.
is
feel a
gonna be
little more
determined to
confident.
me on how we deal with this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the salt shed, yeah.
I think there was some thoughts on the other that we wouldn't bond it, so.
Okay, all right, all right.
That would make a difference to me.
Yeah, okay, well, all right, so let's,
Not from our side, but.
okay, I got you, all right. So, we've got that one sort of halfway talk through, what else are we looking at that needs to get sort of resolved here in the coming hours or weeks?
Well, in order to start writing, the warrant and the articles for
Yep.
voting on, I just need a direction on, one, wages, so I know what our budget is.
Yep.
I guess Andy, I think, has some,
Well, the fire department, the
Yeah.
4,000. I mean, my thought was they have like 11,000 in their donation fund. If there's specific equipment they need for that 4,000, can they take it out of that? That was donations. Saves the town.
We've got the fire chief.
I mean, that's, I'm not saying whatever they're spending, to not spend it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
take it from a donation fund and save it from the taxpayers, that's all.
That
What's that?
donation fund is up to the membership on how they want to spend that. And usually that's for the members who buy t-shirts or something like that out of that money, something for the memberships.
There's like 12,000 in it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll still have 8,000 to buy
That's what they-
t-shirts.
That's what they've raised, and it's up to them on how they want to spend that money. That shouldn't be used
Well, I think
for
if that's
for
the case,
town's equipment.
then people in this town should realize that their donations are going for kind of what they want to use it for and not,
So these would be from
Equipment
like
or
when
anything
you're
else.
selling things at the
Yeah.
fireworks, is that where that money, and it's
Correct,
no, that's
not from outside agencies?
correct.
Is
the
that,
Lions pay for the fireworks stuff.
no.
no, I mean when they're selling
When
burgers.
they're
Yeah,
selling burgers.
the Lions pay for that.
Right.
But the proceeds
Yeah.
that they're
Proceeds.
getting from that are going.
But there's donations throughout the year.
And there's
I'm not necessarily saying
I'm just
using that.
trying to figure
I
out
mean,
what we consider
I know
donations.
donations
So,
during the year have been given.
Sometimes, there's several people in town that donate $500 every
Yeah.
year. It's like a,
Sure.
an
Annual
annual
gift.
Yeah, yeah.
gift. And then if the department, so this year, the department has gone and shoveled out an elderly couple, and they've been making like $100 donations to them. And they've been doing that like on their own time, It's not like we're paying them to go shovel. I should clarify that.
Yeah.
We're not paying them to go shovel someone out. They're going and shoveling out of the goodness of their heart, and they get, donations from that. And
That's all I want to know. What, like, if Poland Spring gave a donation of $5, does that?
no,
I think we're talking. That's what I
Yeah,
wanted to.
that's a
There are different
specific-
types of donations.
Yes.
Is what I'm trying to.
Personal
Yeah.
gifts, is that what we're calling it? Personal gifts?
Well, gifts from whoever,
Right.
outside of what they earn. if
so
they're doing service.
when we receive, like when we receive money from a donation that is for specific, like when people were making donations last year for the turnout gear, that goes into a capital fund
Yeah.
as a donation, not into the fire department donation account.
Gotcha.
So if there is a donation that is made for a specific purpose, then it is funneled through our capital funds and our budget, and the select board
It's a restricted fund.
is a
At
restricted
that
fund.
point,
That
right?
makes
Okay.
sense.
Yep. And so, sorry, because I missed what this, what's this $4,000 line item supposed to be for? Because I missed that part.
That's that's my question.
So the $4,000 line item is clothing, well, it's labeled page 6, the 50601, clothing for the fire department. So this is usually if they need, some gear, like if one, turnout gear is missing a helmet, they're buying a helmet and it's coming out of this. Or if I think they need some forestry gear this year, it's gonna come out of this.
Okay.
So last year's budget shows 4,000. Is there more than $11 spent year to date? Or
That's what I
planned to
see.
be
Yeah, that's
spent?
what I see too. And then
Yeah, I
last,
see $11.
So again, not a lot was spent out of that because the turnout gear was,
So is that almost
Just
gonna
got
roll
we
over?
just got new gear from the other.
but I'm looking, I have the new expense report right here. Just-
so I get it, I mean, 1,900, 400, 500, 4,000.
Yeah, it went up quite a bit.
Yeah, why is
Well,
that?
actual versus budgeted. What do we budget every year would be my question, I guess, right? Do we budget 4,000 and only spend
We
4,000?
budget like 4,000.
Every
It's been
year.
steady.
But I think for last year, they anticipated spending it where I think there was some donations that offset the expense of the town.
Which then, if you're carrying it over to this year, you don't need to add another
But we're
four.
not carrying it, just ends up rolling into the other side, right?
Or would you-
If it doesn't get expended, it rolls. I
That's
mean,
what I was
Correct.
gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most we've ever spent? Is that, we only have back to 2023, but
So yes, I mean, thus far, we have only spent $11
dollars.
from that line item. But again,
Let's not punish that.
we've
Right,
got,
right, right. Yeah, no,
Yeah, but I-
agreed.
But there are reasons why. it was-
fill in there.
Well, I guess my question would be, do we know
buy
what,
it
we
this
know what
year?
we're looking for next year to budget for this
Buy it
4,000
this year.
that we want
Yeah.
to budget for?
I would keep it at 4,000.
Well, I understand, but what I'm saying is that, do you know what you want to spend that for, that $4,000 on?
Well, it's there.
If a new member comes in, that's done the certifications.
Yeah.
We got one starting this week. I would probably have to outfit that person
Yep,
with a set of gear,
yep,
which is $5,000.
yep, yep.
So
And so I guess my question would be, right, is to, if we're gonna ask for, whatever we're gonna ask for, is there something that you were hoping to spend this budget's money on you can buy now with the money that's left in this
Yeah.
account? Because if you don't, it's just all gonna roll into the, into this unassigned.
it just go back to the general fund.
Well, right, and so, rather than re-raising it again, if it can get spent this year before June on a new member or whatever, am I speaking out of turn here, Betty, does that make
Nope.
sense, right? And so, and again, I'm not looking to eliminate anything, I just wanna make sure that if we're raising the money, that we
Use them.
either are, well, yeah, we're either using it or legitimately thinking about what we
Can we go
would
back?
spend this money on, because, and not
Based
to
on
anybody's
previous
fault,
years?
but in the last 3 years, we haven't spent it. Which is
That
okay,
makes sense.
right? Because it means we're spending it, either you're getting what you need in some different way, and the money comes back and whatever, but I want to make sure, that's a question I want to know, is do we have a real thing in our mind that's gonna utilize that $4,000? And, so you'd be buying turnout gear with that, is that what you'd be buying?
Turnout gear, would be gloves, a lot of wear items,
Yep, that stuff all makes real good sense.
you know, that type of stuff. Hoods, which you go through a lot. If somebody were to ruin a set of gear at a call, which has happened, I've been through probably 4 sets of gear in 10 years. It just depends how active you are,
Yeah,
types of calls, that type of
Yep.
stuff. So,
yep,
we could go to a motor vehicle accident and we'd have to end up buying 4 sets of gear because they got contaminated somehow or ripped or
yep.
something like that.
And I don't think I disagree with the way you said it. They don't want to spend that money on the town's stuff, right? And so is that, I've never been on the department, so I don't know, so I'm asking these questions because I think they're important questions to ask for somebody who doesn't know much, right? And that way I can explain to somebody else. If I join the department, you're gonna buy a set of turnout gear that fits me. Right now, hopefully, if something were to happen, I no longer need it, somebody my same size would come in and be able to use it or whatever, right? But in the end, in essence, if I'm joining the department, it becomes my gear, right? I've got a number on it or something, you have a way of knowing whose gear fits who and who's got what when they come into service, right? So while I understand that it's the town's property maybe, right? It's the individual person's turnout gear, right?
Yeah, nobody else is gonna wear it.
Right, okay, so that's I mean, and the town's not asking any members to come buy their own turnout gear, that's not what I'm suggesting, but I'm just saying that there's probably a kind of a fine line between, you could spend, the members could decide that they're gonna buy new hoods for everybody out of that gear, and everybody benefits, and it's not a big deal. Now, you might not want to buy it on that, but if the situation, if you spent that $4,000 in August on a new member and you didn't have it anymore, and guys needed new hoods, it's gonna come from somewhere, right? So that would be, okay, so I mean, it's, I guess my point would be that it can't be an absolute no-go, but I understand why you wouldn't want to spend the money out of that account for wear and tear gear, but
What is that account?
so if
I don't understand.
What's that $12,000?
Extemporaneous expenditures, sounds like.
I don't know.
Yeah, parties, gifts.
So the members, like the members, wrote in the last meeting, so we go through trainings, meetings and stuff like that, is to get polo shirts, some type of dress shirts that identifies them as a member of the Denmark Fire Department. And we're gonna
It's an others
buy those
category.
shirts out of that money.
Betty, I thought
So-
with the previous fire chief, I thought that the town had to approve the expenditures from that account. They could decide, I thought that's what you told us during one meeting, that even they could decide what they want to spend, but it still has to get approved.
Yes, so, and Bob is new into the fire chief position. Because this is a municipal fire department, the board does have, I don't want to say jurisdiction, but when the department, and I believe it's written into our ordinance, that when the department wants to spend out of that, they need to bring that to the board for approval.
Because we haven't seen anything
So,
since, we've never seen any. I don't
want
recall
polo
seeing
shirts.
anything.
but
But that's a separate issue. But
that's,
again,
right.
but, you
If you
know,
look back at prior years, so in '22, we spent a little over 4,000. I believe that we had purchased a couple of turnout gears sets that year. And then in '23, whoops, I'm looking at the wrong one here. 19. So I mean, I think a happy medium would be like a 2,000. If you look at what's been spent in the last, 4 to 5 years.
So if I can, okay, no, go
Sorry,
ahead.
you said you thought you had a new member coming on who was gonna need gear, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, do you know what size they're gonna be? Can you take?
I have no idea.
two active members, only active
I know you
members
don't know
can
right now
turn
we're
out
here,
here?
but I guess what I'm saying is
You
this
don't
person, you're assuming is gonna be
Anybody
coming on, right?
Just active.
If you know they're gonna need the gear, you know what size
what's the
they
point of
are.
being inactive?
Right, can you buy what you need this year with
Just go to,
3,000?
are we paying people?
$89 that's left and then buy the rest of it.
So
when
active
the
members
legislature hits, and
are
then you
going
get-
to
Between
meetings,
that and that, you have
trainings.
Okay, so
5,000
inactive, they're just a name on the list, and they're not getting paid because they're not going to
And then,
anything.
can I make a
And they
suggestion?
don't have any equipment.
Shouldn't this be a dedicated
Okay, that's
fund?
why I want that.
Unless they've had.
Just grows.
They had
They can
equipment.
use
Would that make
some
sense?
stuff that's.
If they're gonna buy turnout,
Understand it.
Well, no, it doesn't make a difference.
No, but for any
Yeah.
other, I mean,
Fire
would we
department,
continue to
yeah.
do that for
She said
other?
unless they were like.
Well, I don't know, but I'm saying if he's gonna think about buying
Yeah,
turnout
yeah.
gear, that's a
I
lot of money.
just
Why would you just let that, if we're
People that
gonna,
aren't showing
if we're gonna
up.
budget
That's part of the
$4,000 a year, why would we
question we had with Chris, you know,
keep dumping it back to the fund? Why wouldn't we just let it sit
Three
there
people show
and
up.
then, and let it
Might be a
roll?
night, might be a.
So we've gone to
So, I
for
mean,
this year or next
essentially, we
year.
should be having a capital fund for turn.
But I guess what I'm saying, I'm saying a dedicated fund, whatever it is, but that's what this is gonna get spent on. And even if it's just regular wear and tear gear, right? Say it's a capital fund with a ceiling, right? No more than $11,000 or whatever, and that way when it sits in there or whatever, right? I mean, I guess that's a.
Good point. Yeah.
That's sort of a way to,
Have a
because
ceiling.
I think without knowing if you're ever gonna, when new members come and go, I think that is a hard thing to know. So you get a budget like you're gonna get one, you're hoping anyway, right? So that makes sense. You wanna have that money sitting in that account. But if it goes 3 years without ever being expended, if we only budgeted it for 2 cycles and we had $8,000 in there, we could say, well, this year we probably don't need to because you didn't get 1 the last 3 years. Chances are you're not gonna get 2 this year. And then when you draw out of it again, then you could freshen it back up again to whatever you need to freshen it to.
I will say, if that solves the potential issue I'm concerned with, and it may, I think it's probably a good idea for someone that works for a government entity. I really don't want to set the precedent or the incentive to, hey, we have $3,900 left in this account. Let's buy
Exactly.
something so
Right.
we don't get cut next year. And I think that's a
Spoken
bad,
like a
that's a
true
bad,
teacher.
that's a bad message to
Yeah.
send.
I don't
And
disagree, and I think
right.
that's what I'm talking
That's
about,
so
right?
if that
Yeah.
solves
Correct.
the issue, that might be the better.
And I've been,
I think it's, yeah. That's the way
yeah,
you're
and
saying
so
it better, but it's the
I've
same
been
idea,
preaching
right?
that in the last few years
Yeah.
because that was the mentality in
Yeah.
prior years that, oh, we're at the
How
end
much
of
we
our
got
budget
left.
cycle, let's
Let's go get something.
get something.
And I've been a fighter against that in other areas for a long time.
Well, especially here where you have a
So-
$12,000.
And I'm not saying that that is necessarily the
could draw.
situation, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
no,
think
I
we
agree.
want
I
to
think
set
that's a-
precedents where it encourages someone
It's a good way to say it.
to do that.
But I think if we're going to go with that route, and again, if you have something you know you're going to need, but you're not sure what it's going to be now, but you have them, like, again, I don't see, if we can cut the budget line by half.
And
they
have
can-
that
and
roll
have-
over,
and
then
have it-
we-
Right, and we spend a little bit of this money now, even though maybe you're not exactly sure exactly what it is, but you got a pretty good, especially since he has a good idea that a new member is going to be coming, is going to be onboarding at some point. So if we know that that's happening, we're
So
just
not-
waiting on whatever it is that we're waiting on. I mean, I don't know.
Logistically, to not throw a wrench into this,
Can't wait.
but
I love wrenches. I'm a fan.
if we,
Here it
if
comes.
we want to establish a restricted fund for fire department clothing,
Mm-hmm.
we can't, that has to be in a separate article warrant all by itself.
Which
It
is-
cannot be here and then roll over into a restricted fund.
Which is fine, because I think
So-
explain the way it just got explained,
Right.
I think makes sense at any
But-
town meeting you were at. Somebody said, so what is this about? And you told them why you were proposing this, they would say, oh, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Would you eliminate that altogether, though, in this regular line item that the chief gets to spend out of?
Well, so I guess, I
Or-
guess what I would say is that's for you guys to figure out, but I would say that I think having if we're worried about needing to replace turnout gear, and this is always, not always, but it seems to be an issue every couple of years or whatever, if you start with a modest amount annually to put in that if the town's gonna be asked to buy all that stuff, right, rather than buying it all one year for $55,000 like we were looking at a couple of years ago, right, and then they got a donation, or whatever the dollar value was, right? If we build, now that we have fresh gear or whatever, I don't know how many sets might be coming up soon or whatever, but that's something that you guys should be, I guess, looking at and saying, okay, what dollar value makes sense to be putting into these accounts that we are going to spend on, and even if it's just a turnout gear account, and you still want to give, $1,000 a year to buy.
Clothing.
I mean, I don't know what hoods and gloves. I don't know what that annual cost might be to buy buy everybody new hoods and a new set of gloves. I don't know what that total cost would be. That's how you might figure out how much you want to put in that same account you have, right? But
And that's a good thought, and when we finally get to talk about all this with the fire department, because I don't know what those numbers are. And like
Yeah,
you
right.
said, that's what we need to know and figure out, and that was part of the problem in the past, all these things that had expiration dates and everything, no one tracked. And they all came up at once.
right.
And that's, you don't want that happening.
No, but
And clothing is the same thing.
If they all come up at once and they came up at once, they're going to come up at once again now, right? Because they all got bought at once.
But at least you know about it, as opposed to when they need it and say they're expired next month.
Right, now you can plan for it.
I think, Betty,
Yeah.
do you think that the way to do that is to have that, see if I can word this so it makes sense, to not fund that line or fund it less this year, the remaining amount, $2,000, whatever it is, $3,000, goes back to the unassigned fund balance. For this year in the warrant, we take $2,000 out of the unassigned fund balance to start the capital
Oh, yeah.
piece, and
get ya.
then you're having half of the 2,000 or whatever you need, $3,000 out of the unassigned fund balance, and then in the next year you don't necessarily have that line, but in some other place when the fire chief says, hey, we're going to need, it's not technically not turnout gear, but we need this, we need that, then it just comes out of the regular, someplace in that fire department
Right,
budget. Does that
right.
even make sense?
Yes,
Where-
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly. You're gonna take the money that would roll into the fund this year, and then as soon as it rolls in, as soon as it hits the magical fund, you just take it right back out again and put it in that account to start it. Start that. This is
come out
seed
of
money
the
for that
unassigned
account.
fund, which just because it's not going to be expended, it's going to go into the unassigned fund.
Right, I
anyway.
get it, right, I get
Take the
it,
money out,
yes.
now you have your, I don't know if that works.
You
but-
have seed money for that capital account, which I think does make a lot of sense, Sean. Yes.
That's banking on, though, that 4,000.
Doesn't
or
get spent.
Doesn't
Right,
get
yeah,
Well, we'll have to,
right.
before the budget committee, we'll have to have some discussion or agreement, with it, that, hey, do you think you're gonna spend this or not? If
Yeah.
not, if you are gonna spend it, then yeah, that's
I
a
think
whole
it's-
different story.
I mean,
They still get what they need for turnout gear, and I don't know. I don't know if that works or not, but it's a thought.
Well, I think still with that, when that fund gets that high, $12,000, and the goal of it is that they can decide on what they want to spend it for, and none of it's equipment or anything that the town is currently paying for, I don't think that's right. I'm not saying they need to spend it all on equipment, but if you need $2,000 out of $12,000 to buy clothes this year for new gloves and stuff, I don't see why that's a problem. As opposed to going to the taxpayers and saying you got to raise $2,000 more to pay for gloves. I'm just curious if people who give to the fire department really understand where that money's going. It's not going, it's going basically into a fund that they can use not to really, from at least from what we're hearing, not to pay for equipment and things. And now, the previous one paid for some fancy stuff that no one knew about.
I think the townspeople would appreciate, look and say, okay, you
Trying to
guys
save
donated.
Yeah.
We got $12,000
Yeah.
that you donated. We just bought a set of turnout gear from what you donated. I think if they posted that somewhere,
Yeah.
people might even donate more money.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they can still buy polo shirts and all that kind of stuff, but it's a large amount this year. If it was 4,000 or 5,000, you probably wouldn't have this discussion.
But if they were to spend that money, $12,000, the check comes from the town of Denmark. It doesn't come from that fund. And I guess unless they're using
I'm not saying
cash.
spend 12,000. I'm just saying.
No, but my point is, if there's a fund of $12,000 somewhere,
coming.
and I'm not saying they don't deserve it and they spend it where they want, but I'm assuming when they go to spend that, it has to be on your warrant that you guys sign off on each, so you would know where it was going.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't come to us in the past, and it probably
Well, then
showed up
how-
on a warrant as something fire department, blah, 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 but
It
Well,
I don't know
what
what, I don't
signed
know.
up on, at least
It is
unless
on
it's
the
different than when I was
What's that?
selectman.
It is on the warrant.
I know, but it might not be a specific, because there is all these other line items that allow buying things. We don't know every piece of equipment they buy, okay? If they buy a piece of equipment, most times I'm assuming, oh, okay, Betty looked at it, it's okay. It must come from one of these equipment things, okay? I don't know that it might have came from that fund. I don't think it, I'm not sure, does it say that it
I
comes from
think
that
I would get in
fund?
the habit of asking.
That's what, well, I'm not gonna ask every piece of equipment they buy, because they're allowed to. I'm not gonna micromanage and say you bought a pair of gloves, you bought boxes of gloves for this. I'm assuming it came out of a maintenance line item thing or something like that we approved. Okay, that's what I'm saying, Sean, is that fund, I don't think is distinguishable from the other town line items that were approved in the warrant, right? That's all, in the past, I don't think it was.
Well, I'm just saying, if you guys sign the warrant, then you've signed off on them spending it on whatever they want.
But not on that fund.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, that has to go through your warrant.
But yeah, I understand that, but what I'm
So
saying is
you've
the way
signed off on it. If
It
they-
will,
we needed to say it's from that fund in
it
the
does
warrant.
say
It does,
from
that's what I'm telling
donation
you.
fund.
Because I don't recall seeing that
It's-
very often. And I do look at them.
And I will say that in the past,
But that's already after it's been purchased,
it's,
right? When we get the warrant to pay for it.
Right.
Most times it never came to us to get the approval.
but with the new ordinance, nothing has been spent since
Yeah.
this new
No,
ordinance.
that's fine, and that's fine.
We're getting off.
So getting back,
Yep.
so the 4,000, what's the take on?
Well, I guess the take for me would be, do we think we can do some manipulating in the background? Obviously, it's going to be a question of what's left to spend at the end of the year. And is the fire chief comfortable with putting half in, thinking that he's going to be able to have at least half of what he's got left in that account that's not expended by the end of this year, if we do the magical money maneuvering in the background to give you whatever is not expended in an account that you can expend from next fiscal year? I mean, I guess that would be my question, right? If you're pretty certain you're not going to need $33,989 for the rest of this fiscal year, right, to June 1, if you don't think you're going to need that, if you don't think you need that money in that account, right, then you'd have almost the $4,000 you're looking for. So if we took your request and halved it and said, okay, whatever's left in that account at the end of the year, that would roll into the surplus, we're going to take from the surplus.
It'll just give us $2,000 more to play with next year.
That's correct, right. And that's how you start that seed, that's how you seed that account that we're talking about. And then this line item becomes $2,000 a year instead of $4,000, and you seed that account with the other two, however the future budget and the select board want to do it. But that's a way to make sure that you're having the potential to buy gear for somebody who comes on new that would need it, right? Without having to ask for money, then not expend it, and ask for money, not expend it, and ask for money, not expend it. Right, so it's a way to not to tax people for what they're
And I
not
would also
getting.
say it's probably, in the long run, an incentive for any group, but we're talking about the fire department, to say, hey, let's not buy this, let's wait. We can pair this money with next year's money to buy
Right.
something that we think is more valuable.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to go to the budget committee and say, or the town meeting and say, make your argument
I
because
need all this money, I've got this much
Yeah.
money in this account that I can use this, can we have
that might be beneficial in
It's
the long
not,
run.
I don't disagree, we did that with the rec,
Yeah.
actually. That's what we would do with the rec, you'd save up and you'd save up and you'd save up and then you'd get what you needed. We don't need whatever this year, no, we don't need new basketballs this year because we've got enough to get through a couple of years. So yeah, that might be, so I guess the question to the chief would be, do you think that makes some sense? Okay, so Betty, I don't know how we're gonna word that, right, but,
I'll come,
yeah.
but, so,
Run it through ChatGPT.
So I guess what he's saying would be, for the council, he's gonna pull 2,000 from this year's budget, roll it over into it, and put 2 more on
Once
this
you start it,
budget,
then
so
you
that
won't have to keep going
It'll
into the
start
other
with
side.
4,000 within a year, is that what he's saying? With a different account, so that it can keep rolling over
no, it
every year?
starts with the 2.
Two, yeah.
And so in
Oh,
the
just
line
2.
item, you're gonna put 2,000 instead of the 4, is what the budget committee is
But
suggesting.
he's also saying that's that's gonna be a rollover account, not to back to unassigned?
Well, I think you.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I think you guys should do,
Yeah,
is start
yeah.
an account that doesn't roll.
Yeah,
And
it's
if-
strictly for clothing and that
well,
kind of
if-
stuff.
and
Right.
if
Yeah.
the chief
Right.
goes
That
back,
makes
if the
sense.
chief goes back through the years and says, hey, annually to buy gloves, hoods, whatever the
It
other
fluctuates.
stuff is,
Yeah,
we
it
need
fluctuates.
$1,500 a year to buy that kind of stuff. That's what goes in that
Yeah.
line item you have, and you put whatever you think is appropriate, whatever the select board and the town may think is appropriate to put into that turnout gear fund every year. Whether that's 3,000, 5,000, 4,000, whatever you think it is.
So this year, it would be 2,000 in this line item, and then a warrant article that establishes a
Reserve account or whatever you call it.
reserve
yeah.
account of
So if
2,000,
they don't spend it, it's there, it's an out
but
of
it's being
account.
taken from.
And then they'll ask for more next year, 2,000 or whatever it may be to put to it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think that at least gives a base for, like you said, thing, if you don't, it depends on how many fires you have, how many calls you have. Busy year, non-busy year, you spend more, you spend less.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, that makes sense.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
we should have an account like that for everything, like the salt shed.
In 10 years, you're gonna be replacing all the gear that you just bought this year.
Right. That's,
So you
Yeah.
should do like we did with the capital.
I would agree. Come up with what you think that cost is, and every year request that
Yep.
1/10 of that amount to get put into this capital account that doesn't get touched by anything else.
And you don't lose it if you don't spend it, it stays in the
Right.
account
Right.
for your big purchase 10 years from
We
now.
did that in Brownfield. We took what we didn't expend out of our highway budget, and we put that towards the capital equipment for purchases. But that was the regular budget that we didn't spend, that we put into that fund versus raising a specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they have things
Good,
over
but
Brownfield, but, you know.
But for us with the highway department, it's a big
I think
enough
that makes
number that
sense.
it goes back and then traditionally we have funded big expenses with money. It's just been going out of
Right, right.
the unassigned fund.
So the same thing you're saying is just when we did it here, we would just spend out of surplus and give the money, because the highway department needs this. Well, we didn't spend this, but we need to get this. So we would say, okay, well, that makes sense. So here's your $150,000 from the surplus.
So what more do you,
I guess the only question I would have for Bob is, and everybody, I guess, what's the status of the paving those aprons? We know we talked about it a couple of meetings ago.
I think
And,
it's a good idea to scrap it.
yeah, so if that were the case, and obviously, is that something, Bob, considering the end, salt shed and everything that's needed, is that something where that money, 40 grand or something, could go into, i.e. building fund, salt shed fund? Is that, or, since you're not gonna do what you wanted to do, obviously you might have 10 other things you want to do, but I would understand, we'd have to understand what they would be. But, I mean, what the first thought would be is just to take that money, put it in towards the salt shed, i.e. building fund.
Yeah, but was that 40 grand coming, was that part of your road?
Yeah,
budget
it's
anyway?
part of the road.
Then,
That's the thing.
if it's in there, why don't we use it on the roads?
It's got to.
Well, I'd like, right now.
I mean, we don't want to go back
No,
on these roads.
I was a one-off. It wasn't so much, let's do it forever now, moving forward. But but what he proposed was about 110,000 of costs for typical, the department costs, doing whatever. And the rest of it was paving, including that 42. I mean, I'd like to see, if you're not going to spend it on that, where are you going to spend it? Are you going to add it to the 110 and just put it into more money for the road department doing their thing, dirt roads and all that stuff? Or do you have specific, is there a next small paving for a road that's needed? But obviously, I don't know, that's not a lot when you do a road, but, that's what I would like to see, what the replacement would be, I guess, in essence.
Well, that would work on shimming some of the other roads like Hancock Pond Road, there's certain areas of that that are falling apart. Mountain Road, the upper part of High Ridge Road. There's sections that need, they don't need a full thickness paving right now. But if we shimmed it, it would extend the life of it. And depending on how that turns out, possibly next year, we would do a chip seal on some of those roads, which is about half the cost of regular paving.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see that $42,000 get spent back on the road.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
That's fine.
And whatever he thinks is appropriate. Yeah.
May I ask a question on page 6? 50630, it's near the top, it's a few down from the top, special programs. I see in 2023 it was 5960, and there was a time when it was up to 11,000, and now, and you're proposing 8,500. Can we go back down to say 5,000 or 6,000? I don't know what that
So the special programs
expense
is, and Luke, you might be able to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
Special programs is the cost for running the soccer program, for the, uniforms come out of that, fees for joining whatever league that they're joining, referees, umpires.
Is it gonna get up that high this year, I guess is what.
Well, I guess, right, I guess I'd wanna,
Right.
I guess I'd be curious to know what those expenditures were for 25, just so we can go back and look at them to see what they are. I mean, Hillary would be able to tell you, I can't tell you, I mean, I know that it was, I'm trying to think of what was expensive.
We meet with her.
And the only reason why I asked for
Yeah.
is we budgeted 8,500, and year-to-date, only 3632 has been expended, and we're almost near the end of the year.
My guess would be baseball and
Baseball's the most-
softball's a big expense.
They're the
Then
most
Yeah, but this is
expensive.
gonna,
Yeah, but it's
yeah,
not
but
gonna
the
be
budget ends in
$5,000.
June.
Baseball's over in June.
And it starts in what, April and ends in June?
June, yeah.
I
But
think-
so, that certainly there is some of that, right, there's,
I think when you said find out, if we find out, 'cause
Yeah.
if it's truly $5,000 to finish the season,
right,
then that's
which-
fine. But if
I
it's
think-
2, then what you're saying is
Baseball
maybe
and softball.
a couple
Right, I
grand
mean, we
could
did
come
spend
off.
Right.
11,000 and
Yeah.
It's a way
25, I
to-
would be curious to why that
Makes sense.
was. I don't remember if any of the,
Uniforms for
I know
one team.
what $1,700 of that was the portable mound.
The amount, yeah. So that wasn't even, that was a
That's
one-off.
a one-time
It's a
expense.
one-off.
That's a one-off,
Exactly.
yeah. With shipping is
So
probably
there's
close.
probably at least 2 grand that could come off of
Yeah.
that possibly, and just,
And that's what I was
yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, so I think if you get with Hillary and find it, or if you go through the, whatever those are and figure out what those actual expenses were, we could easily tell you what's
think we
an
can-
annual and what's a one-off.
Yeah.
Next meeting, she's coming.
Buying off the rest was more
Oh,
expensive.
that's right, to talk about.
Those
Yeah.
are easy to, those guys are easy to buy off. They're young, they're dumb, they have no idea what they could hold us over for. I would also just like to say that we're doing a really good job with young kids and getting, the young kids who are, Braden's or Sean Davis's, those kids are coming back and refereeing games for us and umpiring games for us. This community does a good job showing up for their younger kids, so, which is great to see.
Great program.
Yeah, we have, I honestly would tell you that, we have one of the strongest rec programs that there is in this area, and we do it with a very short budget. By comparison.
Absolutely.
We have the salt shed yet.
I mean, it's ridiculous by comparison.
Right.
It is very ridiculous
Yeah,
by
which is great.
comparison, and I would just like to make the note that, the whole rec may be going through a transition, and I would rather have a little, I hate to say cushion in there if we have to take from that 8,500, just because we will be looking at I think a potential new
How
rec
much you paying?
director.
Maybe I'll look into it.
Would you like, well, you can see right there, we're starting you out
Yeah,
at
but I think I'll stay retired for
44,700.
that.
Right, no, unfortunately.
Now you give me ideas, Rusty.
This
Looks about one
this community is
transmission,
good.
Rusty.
Like, you don't
That's how much
hear
you
That's why my back hurts.
complaining, a lot of griping. It doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen here. There's
Eddie,
expectations
that
that.
stream fund
Yep.
and broadband, is that put back into, you took that out as, as a positive in the budget?
All right.
The stream fund and the
Yeah, maybe
broadband,
10,
that's
15 minutes
already,
before you guys
you
get
made
there,
those
because their meeting-
changes?
You can only stay till 7:30.
So they were never
It's a meeting
in
day,
like this,
so-
but
What else you got?
But
They're
is
not.
that included
that's
in
my-
your
that's my question for the
calculations,
town
that
manager.
53,000
I mean, that's-
now a plus?
I think we're
It's
about
kind
what
of
we can out of it.
revenue,
Well, I do, I do.
So
I do too.
those will go back into,
Unassigned?
well, either, but you had made the suggestion
Yeah,
of,
that,
yeah, so they would just be written as articles.
but that would be 53,000 off of, I mean, as a positive, a revenue source. That you don't, are you showing that in your latest?
I am not
millage?
showing.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring
No.
up. I know in the past, we mentioned that stream fund for 46,000 approximately, and then the broadband initiative, which is over for 7.
Yep.
About pulling that out and putting that as, in essence, revenue, whatever you call it,
Unassigned.
unassigned. But that can go towards the budget, so that would bring the budget, as far as, on the positive side, 53. That's why I was asking if she included that here, and that's not included. So that would help the millage rate a little
But
bit.
I'm trying to
right?
look for your email.
No, I thought you had told us you had one you were going, this was one scheduled and missed. That's what we all thought we were really hearing. So we were wondering, this was the one you were missing. It's just myself, I'd say something like that. Maybe it was.
Oh, okay, so you actually say to the 26-27 budget.
I didn't say.
Yeah,
So we can, so yes, I can calculate that in then into the mill rate.
put that as a line item for deductions or something, just from those accounts.
Yeah, so it's not actually a line item. It gets figured into the mill rate for deductions. So
Okay.
like right
I
now,
see.
I have like
Yeah, that's what I
447,000.
meant.
I would add the 50, yeah.
Deductions. Yeah, so it'd be
Should be
almost,
at
it'd be up by 500,000. Yeah, which helps. Because that would never get, that was leftover projects that aren't done, right?
Right.
So no reason to let it sit there.
So it's almost about 50 grand?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, they did that reevaluation.
That's why you get the big bucks anyway.
What's that?
That's why you get the big money.
And then, for 13.
Betty, have you heard from the
They
school
changed it to
board
spread on it,
members at all? Have you had any idea about the budget?
I did, a little bit. All I heard was that if nothing changed, like looking at 6 to 7% increase, but that's just right
Now.
first meeting,
First.
first words. 6 to 7.
6 to 7.
Okay.
So,
That doesn't necessarily mean
right.
who bears what share of that.
I didn't know if I should say that or not.
We've been hammered the last 2 years, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it, yeah, I haven't looked at their minutes from their last meeting yet, so. Is their first proposed budget in there? Okay.
They don't give you anything in the minutes. They literally don't want to tell you anything on those board meetings. Serious, right? Don't you
No,
agree?
I think you're
There's
right.
literally no attachments.
Yep.
There's literally nothing there. And they lead with, you're not allowed to talk
Right.
about anybody.
But then when our budget, we pass that stuff at
Yeah.
town meeting, then they go, oh, your budget's gonna go up.
Yeah, yeah. You can't figure anything out of that.
So, I guess the question that I would have for this group, and then need to get solved tonight, is you got the municipal budget on page 17, right? At the left-hand column, municipal budget, 6.9, 6.3, you taking 100,000 out of unassigned or not, or taking nothing out of unassigned. I don't know if you guys talked about any of that in the last meeting, this was, right? So over here.
I scribbled out the 17.
That's all right, yeah,
Yeah, no, I got it.
so over here, right, either, what does the group feel, I guess, right now, about the unassigned fund and whether any money should be coming out of that or not?
How much is in there? You said just under $1 million?
No,
Or is
it's
there-
not even
724, something like that, Betty?
There's only 724 in there?
700?
That's what
That's what you're
I,
Still have more
figuring.
coming in, though. yeah.
that's what I'm estimating.
That thing?
We bought
I
a
did
new
not have
truck
time
yesterday,
today
so
to
it'll be
do an
more.
updated,
Maybe
estimated unassigned.
maybe people bought a lot more expensive cars.
So that camera doesn't need it.
They're up, they keep going up, Andy.
I already paid my dues this year, so it's not coming from me.
And that is another thing. So, I mean, we take right now, what is it, from unassigned, I mean, from revenue sharing, excise
235.
235. I mean, we could maybe bump that to 250,
Where does the rest go, unassigned?
looking back. Yes,
Okay.
it just rolls
That's-
into,
yeah,
so, I
playing
mean,
around.
it's, you just,
Shell
right.
game, yeah,
You're
in a
shell-
sense, yeah, shuffling.
yeah.
But how much are we expecting to raise from excise? I know you're saying 235, more than 235, I guess, right? I
Yeah,
don't remember. What-
yeah.
You
So-
would want to take the conservative low side, whatever you think it's going to be.
Yeah,
and that's-
yeah.
You don't know what the year's gonna bring,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay.
And then, listen, the $600,000 bond, right, for the salt shed, I know it's a, it's a lot, it's a 21, 22 cent bump on the mill with no unassigned fund, and that's a big bump, and I get it, and I know that I'm a young person in this community who, is still working, but at some point, we gotta do something. So
Oh,
whether it's
there's no
this
doubt
year
about it.
or next year, I don't know the
Yes.
thing, maybe, but I guess what I was gonna say is that I don't know that the situation gonna be any better
Not gonna get
next
cheaper.
year than it is
No.
the year after that and the year after that. So I don't know that that's something you can push down the road and either hope it goes away or hope it gets cheaper, because I don't think either of those things
No.
are happening.
No.
So and whether or not you try to defer or defray rather as much as you can, right? We got the 100,000 from unassigned and 100,000 from the building fund. I think that's what you sort of got to look
Carry
at.
your truck, Bob, that's all I say.
Is that I really think you got to look at that 8.85 number as what makes it's a good compromise, right? That's far less than we've ever taken out of the unassigned for any years in the past, and I think I'm trying to listen very hard, Betty, to your concerns about what that dwindling number looks like coming into the next fiscal year, because what you're showing us this year is a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, and you're showing us where you think it will be at, not at its peak, right, but at the time when you draw that money out, and you don't know what 27 will put back in. That's the tricky part about these split
Right.
years.
You turn the news on in 2027, probably not gonna put a lot of news on.
Yeah, right, and that's why I don't turn the news on, ever. So, but that's, so and I still think we have the ability to take some out and to cushion the blow as much as we can. I guess again, I would say one more time, the blow is coming, whether we like it or not, right? Something has to get done, or at least started as putting some money someplace. So, as much as that pains me to do anything to the people of this good town, I think you have to look at, for me anyway, I mean, I'd like to fall right in that middle slot, 100,000 from the unassigned with a $600,000 bond. That's still, I mean, it's a huge hit. I know it's a 10%.
My suggestion is if we do take $100,000 or whatever from the unassigned fund balance, to me, that 100,000 that goes from the unassigned fund balance should go to take off from the 600,000, because you're not paying interest on that.
And I
Take
think
the
it's a-
100,000, don't take the
great idea.
100,000 to fund something else. Take the 100,000
yeah.
to lop off your
Exactly.
bond
I think it's an excellent, yep,
piece.
yep.
And then you're financed for 5 years, you're not paying 75,000, you're paying something less. So whatever we take, regardless from the unassigned fund balance, to me, every bit of that
Goes straight to the
should go towards a salt shed to cut down the amount you have to.
Well, you have 100 grand in the building fund. Why don't we use that?
Well,
too?
right,
Right, no, in addition to that,
And I don't
That's
know,
what I agree
I
with
wasn't
you,
here
Sean.
for this
Yeah.
iteration, so I don't know I didn't want to speak on that, Mike, so I don't know what that's earmarked for, what it was earmarked for, and what we're gonna now, it's in the building fund.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what that,
It's what we've been putting away the last few years in a restricted fund for buildings. It wasn't,
okay, so it doesn't have the specific, it wasn't part of the, greater
no.
PW new building
No.
plan or anything, okay, all right, so then, yeah, I 300%, make it $400,000, that's great.
Yep.
Absolutely, right?
And make
I
it,
mean,
even if
because you go to go to the town meeting and show what we want, what us vote on, they vote on, and what the townspeople vote on could be different. But we gotta show them a good proposal so they know, okay, we got $200,000 we wanna put towards $600,000 salt shed, so you're only gonna have to fund $400,000. Whereas, and it might help cut the mill rate down a little bit too, so.
So that is like actually the next big decision that needs to be made is how we're presenting this. And I honestly, I would need to reach out to like seasoned town managers to see if we don't include anything in the actual budget that we take to town meeting for the salt shed, and we do a separate special town meeting, then like I said, we're doing two we're doing 2 tax commitments, because we have to do a tax commitment on what we vote on in June, then we're gonna have to do a tax commitment for anything that we raise for the salt building.
So that can't be included in the regular town meeting?
Or we can present it at the regular town meeting that we vote to up to, you know, a certain dollar limit for the sand and salt building. We're going to bond it with the intent of bonding it at, say, 400,000, because we're gonna use 200,000. And then vote on it with that. So it would be kind of like a vote on an intent.
Yeah, right.
That gives
I hear what you're
the board
That's the okay.
the okay to go up to a certain amount and to bond up
But
to
I
a
can see
certain
what you're saying
amount.
too, is if you have a special town meeting, then you might have a rock solid figure, right?
Right.
But even at the regular town meeting, I would assume besides that estimate we got for that one building, if we change building, we'll get another estimate, same type. I would assume you're gonna want as much information even then, because I know as a
Right.
taxpayer, you're not gonna just
I mean,
say,
it would be
"Hey,
a
give the board up to
presentation."
800,000 when all you
Right.
see is a $400,000
No,
building.
it would
You
be.
never know, Andy.
Well, I'm just saying, you're gonna wanna get all that concrete work, even if it's gonna go out as, it's
Right.
gonna go up 10% by the time you do it, people understand that.
Correct.
But you wanna see real numbers when you're voting on numbers.
It would be a
Yeah.
presentation that I'm making, like I did for like the future
with
Public
estimates
Works
and all that
garage.
kind of stuff.
So, I mean, and we have gotten in a proposal for an all-metal building that came in a little less
Oh,
than,
let's take it.
so,
Can I make another suggestion?
yeah.
And I know you got a lot on your plate, but, you know, I think probably the bonding piece is the way to go. But I do think we should do our due diligence and check out what a rate you can get from bank, even though it might be a bit higher. My guess is if it's a bond, it's not probably what's called a callable bond. We can't probably pay it off early because someone's buying
So-
that bond with the expectation to get 4% every year. If you buy it, if you just take a loan from the bank, then you have the ability to pay it off early if we have extra money in an unassigned fund balance a year or two
Down the line.
from now. So
Yeah.
I think it
So I
might make sense
should-
to look at both of
Yep.
those, just because you're usually locked into paying off that bond.
You are, so, yeah, so last meeting conversation or the conversation before, I'm not sure. I do know that through Maine Municipal Bond, we will not be able to pay it off early.
Yeah.
So if we do a 5. Northeast Bank does do municipal lending, also municipal bond. And that is actually what this 4%, because I think Maine Municipal Bond Bank itself, I think when I looked at, you know, history of what it would have been like maybe 3.75 to, you know.
Yeah, the reason they're lower is because they know they're
Right.
guaranteed to
Yeah.
get that money over a
Yeah.
period of
Right.
time, so.
Yeah.
So I think 4 probably is high for Mitch, but I don't, I didn't do the.
And I did. I kind of took a middle range.
Yeah.
They went anywhere from like 350 to 425 or 4 something. So I just figured I will talk to Northeast Bank and before next meeting and see what more information I can get from them. We have a very good relationship with.
And for a loan that
Our
size, with our audit numbers and I mean, you might even be able to shop it
Right.
a bit for that type of money
Right.
from a town because they know they're gonna, they're gonna get paid. So I don't know.
Yep.
But I think we've got to, I know there's probably some disagreement, but I think we have to bond it for at least, or borrow it for at least some period of time. I can't think we can go,
No.
even if we took $100,000 from the building repair fund and we had $100,000 from the unassigned
Right.
fund balance, I don't think we can ask for a $400,000
No,
bill into a $2.8 million
right, right,
budget. I don't know, that's just, and I hate borrowing, but
right. But does make sense. Yep,
again, just my view on it.
okay. Well, that's a good one. You guys got a meeting tonight, right? You guys got a
We
regular
do.
meeting? Okay.
So with the line item budget though, are we good with that or?
Yeah, I think.
Well, we'll come up with something before next
Well,
week.
well, and I'm not,
No, we're
I'm
gonna
not
start
convinced we can't take.
putting our
I don't
finalization.
play.
Yeah, right, and I guess I'm not,
Two small
fund
ones.
balance.
I'd like to just talk about those numbers again sometime, but I think,
Which numbers? Sorry.
we just saying, we're not convinced that $100,000 might be all you can take, but I certainly.
Right. No, and I'll have an updated, I mean, and I will, once I get back into the groove from vacation.
That's low end.
I can, I will do estimated unassigned.
For CEO, what kind of training? Is there proposed specific training? It went from 1,000 to 1,500 and we're at 400 now. So is there some kind of specific class you're expecting to go to, or why did that go up 500? And I assume mileage went up kind of the same way, but it went up from, it's at $1,250, but we've never spent more than like $600-800. So, I mean, again, can that go to 1,000 for mileage? And again, the training, can that stay at 1,000? I don't know why it went up.
Well, it went up because of the number of trainings that we're having to take.
You're gonna have to take next year?
That we have to take in order to keep our credits.
Yeah, no, I understand
within-
that. But so
Do
there's
we have to
400.
take 'em? I don't-
No, I'm not saying don't take them if you have to take it. I'm saying, but it's right now, it's at 400. So in the next 2-3 months, is that gonna end up being around 1,000?
Yes, because the big training comes in like May.
Okay. All right. I mean,
Defense
that's
Department
fine.
lobster.
I mean, the mileage, that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna dilly over $250 or whatever. but
Unfortunately, I watched them.
That's fine. I just wanted to know, I didn't see anything that was mentioned about it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Let's keep on this.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Hey!